Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We got some brand new Civivi knives to check out. First is Civivi Tripish, I think it's called. And it's a nice compact knife at 6.93 inches long. It has a 2.97 inch blade, so it's going to be legal in all areas with 3 and under blade laws. And it's coming with a nice compound ground blade, very deep hollow grind, so it's super slicey here, and this flat grind still nice and slicey. Not to mention you have that nice low tip, so it's going to be very versatile. You can easily use that tip for detailed work. Piercing, it's going to be right in the center line, and my medium-sized hands, I can still get a nice 4-finger grip on it. It's got thumb studs and flipper for deployment. Of course, they both work great. Got a small row of jimping, and these dropped today. I'm going to give you my full review on this one's going to be coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. And we also have the new Wii Knives Brr15. This thing is an absolute beauty. My review should be going live today, depending on how things go, but it's a nice streamlined folder with a very minimal flipper tab that works flawlessly. And then check that blade. That's my favorite finish. It's like a polished coating finish on there. I have the same finish on my Wii Adder. It's just beautiful. Yeah, this thing's awesome. And I'm not even a flipper only type of guy, but this one it works and it keeps everything nice and streamlined in the pocket. So stay tuned for the review on this. I will have these two also and any other Civivi or Wii knives that dropped today linked down below in the description. Well, today's video is an exciting one, I think. A lot of people asked me if I was going to be checking this one out. Super happy they sent this one to me. But if y'all don't remember the Wii Knives Mini Buster that dropped a long time ago, I forget how long now. And this has been a favorite of mine for a long time. I love Snecx designs. He's all about symmetry, and I think it's just always clean looking. This one has a phenomenal action, and a lot of people wanted to see the full-size version of this, and they did a full-size version. I think he did it with maybe Custom Knife Factory. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know he did one with maybe Jake Hoback. Being that he's been collaborating with Wii and Civivi, we now have the full-size Buster, and talk about an absolute tank this is. This thing is a behemoth. It's going to be a great utility slicer here. You got that super high flat grind. This one has a nice satin finish on it. Love that top swedge for some flair. And you also do have jimping up here. It's moderate traction, not anything crazy, not something I really care too much about. But like I said, this is a big knife coming in at 9.65 inches overall. It has a 4.2 inch sheep's foot blade. This one is in Nitro V stainless steel. Another Snecx design, the Vision FG. And just look at this. Look at the size difference. This one could eat this one. Different knives, of course, but you got a nice fine tip there. So if you need to make some very intricate, detailed stuff, need to trace something out, you're gonna be able to do that very easily. Not to mention in hand cuts, you can have full power from heel to tip, being that this is pretty much a straight edge right there, and it should be a nice powerful cutter. It's gonna be great for breaking down boxes. You can get stuff done on a flat cutting surface, because if you look, so I'm gonna use this as a flat cutting surface. If you're holding it in the pinch grip and you're contacting the heel of the knife, you can see how that tip is canted up. You got all that room underneath there, so you can make these rocking motion cuts. And as you can see, the back end of the scales is sitting above the edge. So whenever you make those cuts, that entire edge is usable. So this is going to become a very versatile blade shape because of the way this edge is set up below the scales. Snecx, there's never a stone unturned when it comes to him and his symmetry on the blades and making them very, very functional. You also have somewhat of a forward finger choil. If you wanted to choke up, you can. Now you do have this little nub right here, so it's not the most comfortable, but it can definitely be done. And then if you don't want to use that as a forward choil, it will double as a oversized sharpening choil. So you're gonna have, if you look, the plunge grind comes down to about right here, so you can have all that pretty much life of this knife before it'll even think about widening over here at the heel. Then you have these dual thumb studs. As you can see, they stay out of your cutting path. You got pretty chunky blade stock at 0.16, but being that they have this high slicer grind where it tapers off into a full flat about right here, they managed to bring it down nice and thin, as you can see here, going from here down to around 16 thousandths behind the edge. So this one should be a fantastic slicer. Let's find out. boy, oh boy, this is where this knife's going to shine. It is slicing through the cardboard. I mean, it's so easy. And I think it has a little bit to do with the heft of the blade. Of course, this thin geometry. And most of all, it came with a wicked sharp edge from Civivi. So all those things play a factor whenever you're cutting, when you're slicing into things. And I was kind of interested to see in this choke up position how comfortable it's going to be. But just like on the Vision FG, the Super Lock, when you're choked up like that and you're pushing into something, it's pretty uncomfortable. You can see me kind of moving it around in my hands. And that was the same thing with the Civivi Vision FG. So if this is a knife that you're planning on doing this type of stuff with, just know you might need to throw on some gloves. I mean, of course, my hands are a lot more beat up than the average person, but I was really trying to see if I could maneuver around it. And unfortunately, it was leaving a pretty bad hot spot in my palm. Now I was trying to see how versatile this blade was, being that you have a straight edge and it's sitting below the scales. In a pinch grip, I can get the entire edge on a flat cutting surface. I do wish there was a set of jimping midways on the spine right before it drops down. So whenever I'm doing those pointer finger cuts, I can lift my palm off of the back of the scale where that super lock is, because you'll see me trying different methods and they were all creating somewhat of a hot spot even with gloves on. So it's tough. I mean, I still love this knife and it's a good performer. You just have to know if you do a lot of cuts like this, you're somebody who uses your knife a lot. Sorry, man. I don't know what's... And you're going to be putting a lot of pressure. Just know you're probably going to feel that super lock. There's really no way around it. And I love the super lock, but that's just one downside. Kind of like on the shark lock. You know, I get that same feeling. Not as bad, though. Of course, it's going to really shine at doing those detailed cuts. And as you can see, this is a very versatile blade. Now, it would have been easier if I would have lifted up on a block, of course. But you don't have to lift it up on anything. You got enough clearance and you can get enough of that edge onto your material where it's going to do it rather easily. Look how easy it's just plowing through all this material. So as far as performance, it did fantastic. So just as I expected, it was very versatile, it was very slicey, it was a very powerful cutter, and it was fairly comfortable. We'll talk about theirs in just a second. So let's talk about the deployment and action on this one. So this one is set up with a super lock. You have the dual thumb studs, and the tension on the super lock is what is creating the detent. So as you can see, it's kind of like a crossbar lock. It sucks that blade back in. So you got a nice detent. You definitely want to see a good detent on such a big blade. You don't want this thing flopping out in your pocket. I promise you that. And the thumb studs are nice. They're pretty darn comfortable. Now, right now, I don't get a super snappy action because of the heft of the blade, I think, and the tension that they had to put on this lock in order to keep the blade secure. But it's not bad, and if you want to slow roll it, it's very smooth because it is riding on cage ceramic ball bearings. Once you release that lock, this thing is a guillotine. If you want to, you could do a gravity shake, but it's not that easy because they do have a good bit of tension here. Being that you have the jimping on the super lock, you could also pull the super lock back and open it like that as well. You could reverse flick, but the tension, like I said, is a little stronger, so it's not the easiest to do. Now, one thing I was happy to see on the Buster is, unlike on this Vision FG, you can see how the super lock, they had to put this long lock bar right here, and that was like the first iteration, just like on the Vision R. So that right there added a good bit of weight, because that is a chunk of stainless steel right there. They used the same small super lock bar, however you want to call that, but the same how they did on the Wii Tyro, another Snecx design. This one's much smaller because it's a much smaller knife compared to the Vision FG. I mean, look at the size difference. Still functions the same, and you could probably consider this a harder use knife because you got this good tension on here, so it shouldn't vibrate out easily or anything. Got the little window that shows the hardened stainless steel lock nub right there falling into the little channel. Watch. So I'm gonna pull this back. You can see it, see it sliding out of the little channel. You also have a piece up here, and it's sandwiched in between the stop pin right there. So once it comes into place, boop. Look at that massive stop pin we have. So pull this back. There's a little channel that the blade is going into. And then, so this doesn't pop up in that direction, it's sandwiched in between that and that stop pin. So it's a very strong lock. You know, it still is a folding knife, so, you know, I wouldn't be doing stupid stuff with it unless you had to. You could probably handle a good bit. You probably have a failure on the liners, if I had to take a guess, or the actual little nub here, depending on how they heat treated it. Civivi usually does a great job with every aspect of a knife, so I definitely expect it to be stronger than the Vision FG, and I've done some pretty crazy things with this. I've done some very light batoning with the Vision FG. I did notice a couple of times whenever I was doing some very hard strikes, the vibrations popped this out a couple of times, but just use your judgment when you're doing stuff like that. It's not really meant for that. I just think it could if it had to be put in that role. Let's take a look at these scales. So you have these peel ply G10 scales. Mine are like a slate bluish grayish color. Perfect amount of traction. These are a little bit grippier than most of my Civivi scales. Not in a bad way. It's kind of like a waffle pattern almost to theirs. Perfect amount of grip. It's not going to come out of your hands. And as far as ergos go, it's comfortable. I will say when I'm choked back like this, I can feel this pocket clip because it's all the way up here and I do feel it in the palm. But when I'm choked up right here, it's not as bad for me. This isn't the most comfortable in the world just because you got this little nub right here. And then, I don't know, you'd have to feel it. It's not bad or anything. And I was able to do everything that I needed to just fine. And my hands are beat up. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. No severe hot spots. That's all I'm trying to say. It was comfortable enough to do all the testing that I did. If I was going to be doing anything harder, I would have definitely been wearing gloves the entire time. This pull grip like this is pretty comfortable. Once again, that nub's kind of, you know, sitting right here. It's not terrible or anything. You can feel the super lock a little bit. It's not, they did a good job of chamfering the edges on both sides, so it's not sharp anywhere. Even in this grip, I can feel it. It's not terrible. If you own a Vision FG, I don't think it's any worse than the Vision FG. And if for some reason you want to do the reverse gas station knife fight grip, you could, because they left this, you know, where you can put your finger there and kind of wrap around this rounded portion right there. And if you need to stick it into some wood or something to make a feather stick, you could do that. Now, we have a lot of stainless steel in this knife. We got this bar, you got the stainless steel liners, you got these stainless steel standoffs, this extra pin here, you know, this big old chunk, 0.16 inch stock. So it's going to be a pretty hefty knife for its size. Not terrible, definitely carryable, coming in at 6.38 ounces. I definitely don't think that's bad at all. Let's see where they were able, look at that. That's very impressive. They were still able to nail the balance point on this one. You even have pocketing inside of those stainless steel liners. So they did whatever they could to bring down the weight while still keeping it balanced. When this one's locked up, I mean, when I say a tight lockup, I have no play in any direction whatsoever. I'm making sure I keep my fingers out of the way of that path. But no up and down whatsoever, no side to side, while still keeping a nice smooth action. Now for some quick size comparisons and just for some giggles, look how it dwarfs the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. And it's just a hair shorter than the Civivi Hit, and that's a massive knife. And of course, it's going to dwarf the Civivi Vision FG. And it's just a hair shorter than the Tenable Calibre, and it's a little bit longer than the Civivi RS71. And it's even bigger than the Kaiser XL Sheepdog, and that's a massive knife. And it's a good bit bigger than the Civivi Vexillum. And lastly, it's just a little smaller than the Maxxay Sandstorm K, and it's a little bit bigger than the Off-Grid Knives Stinger XL. It's also a little bigger than both the Cold Steel SR1 Lite and the Volsteed Gator. Now, being that absolutely no knife's perfect, one of my nitpicks complaints, the little nub right here, even though they did a great job of rounding everything and chamfering it, it's not super comfortable because of it. That paired with the way this sticks up right here in this choke up spot, that's just gonna sit into the palm of your hand. So it didn't bother me unless I was really, really bearing down. And, you know, if I was doing something for a long period of time, you know, it could probably become a problem, but it was fine for the amount of cutting I did. And also, being that they put this clip up here, you're definitely gonna feel the ramp on this clip. Now, the way I got around this problem with my Vision FGs that I did some aftermarket stuff with is put on the Civivi milled titanium aftermarket clip, because you don't have that high ramp like you do on the deep carry clip. This one, in my opinion, is much more comfortable. I don't feel it at all when I'm squeezing down like I do on the regular Vision FG clip. So if you own a Vision FG, it feels pretty much the same as it does on the Buster as well. I would think one of these Civivi aftermarket clips should fit just fine there, because you have this lip right there. In order to be able to make this fit to where the clip's not in a bind sitting up like that because of this ledge right here, which you could definitely do that, but it's going to make your clip extremely tight, and you could possibly strip out a screw doing it like that. What you have to do is cut this piece that is actually screwed in. You got to cut that part off and use that as a spacer, and then get the clip that has the extra size screws, and you got to put the longer screw in this back portion to go into your standoff. That's what I had to do to this original one right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's got the little tab underneath the pocket clip. That way it lifts it up the same height as it does this one. And that's the only way I know around that. Or you could just leave it alone. Your choice. Not saying it has to be done, you know, it's all depend on your grip. It may not bother you as bad as it bothers my hands, just because my hands, everything bothers my hands. And like I said, the only other like minor nitpick, I guess, because of using the super lock, it's a little bit harder to flip out because it does have a good bit of tension, which is a good thing. So I just call that a very minor nitpick. Definitely not a deal breaker for me. I kind of like it, being that, you know, I feel this is going to be a lot more secure, you know, staying closed when I want it to, and in the open position, staying locked up on you. So what are my final thoughts? If you're looking for a beast of a knife, or you just have super large mitts, this one might be a fantastic option for you. I love Snecx designs. I think I have all of his Civivi and Wii designs, and if he does any more, I would be happy to purchase any of those as well. It's a super slicey blade. I think it's an attractive looking knife. You know, that's my opinion. You may not think so. That's fine. After this review, I'll probably start playing around with some hard use stuff with it and seeing what it can handle. If that's something y'all want to see, maybe I can do a couple of shorts on maybe batoning with it and some other stuff. But, you know, if enough of y'all want to see it, I'll definitely probably do that. But if not, just leave it alone. This exact version right here comes in at $98, and for a 4.2-inch knife, Civivi build quality, collaboration with Snecx, you got the super lock, it's got a nice smooth action, and it was a great slicer. I think that's more than fair, because a lot of the Vision FGs cost that much. And you're getting a much bigger knife here. A lot more blade steel on this one, and just an overall bigger form factor. So, I would love to hear y'all thoughts. Do you like bigger knives? Does this one interest you? Do you plan on picking one up? If you do, and you want to help support the channel, you can use my links that will be down below in the description. I will have all the new Civivi Wii knives and Sand Cut linked down below. So thank you to anybody who uses my links. That helps support the channel, and that helps me pay for more testing materials, which is a huge help. If not, no sweat at all. Just glad to have you here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below, and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep these blades sharp. Smile more.